Hi, this is Casey Stubbs, and this is the first episode of the Casey Stubbs Business Podcast, where I'm going to take you on my journey from taking my business from $2 million to $20 million. And the goal is to do that in 3 years, and you're going to be along for the ride on this podcast. And while I'm going to be telling you how I'm going to be taking the business to 20 years, or 20 million rather, in 3 years, I'm going to be sharing all my strategies, my thought processes, the challenges, the victories, the successes, every single aspect that's involved on this journey. And I think that would be of value to people. So you're going to get a lot of inside information about me and what I'm experiencing and what I'm going through. And the purpose for me to share myself is so that you can learn about what I'm going through. And I think that'll have a lot of value. And we're going to explore that every week. It's going to come out every Friday. So be sure to subscribe and get access to this. And it's going to be interactive. I'm going to share things personally. But also, if you have questions, you can always email me at caseystubbs@gmail.com. I'm very interested to hear about the things that you want to hear about, or suggestions or ideas or ways to make the show better, because ultimately the goal of this is for me to help as many people and take as many people on the journey to their success that I possibly can. Because I'm learning a lot and going through a lot, it's obviously going to be helpful for those that are trying to go through the same types of thing. Welcome to 2020. This is the first episode. Hopefully, we're going to see some great things along the way. This first episode is going to have a little bit of history about me, about my business, about how I got started. So let's go ahead and get started. So I started my first business in 2000, and I was just out of the military. I did 4 years in the Army, and when I was in the military, I pretty much had a business mindset and wanted to be a business person when I got out. I got in at 19, got out at 23, and I was always doing stock investing and always research and actually making money while I was in the Army on the side through my stock investing. That was, if you guys remember, for those of you that are at least my age or older, in 1999 we had a really big stock market boom with the tech stocks, and so I was able to do some great returns there. I had some Intel stock and some Microsoft and Cisco systems, and they all did really well. And then I sold them right when I got out, right before the crash in 2000. So that was a great experience for me in investing. So after I got out, I had $25,000 in the bank saved up, which is another great lesson about business, is you got to be good with your finances. And so while I was in the military, I saved almost 100% of my paycheck. Well, not quite 100%, but pretty close. Because here's why. In the military, they pay for your food. They pay for all your utilities. They pay for everything. Okay? And so my pay was pretty low. I think I started out at $800 a month when I started in 1996. And when I got out, I wasn't making much more than that, maybe $1,000 a month. But I was able to save all of my money. I didn't buy anything extra because they provide your uniforms. They provide all your utilities and food. So I literally saved 100%, not 100%, but almost 100% of my paycheck. I didn't go out and buy movies, didn't go out and buy all the things that all my friends were buying. It was a pretty interesting case study because you live with a lot of guys in the barracks, right? So we have this big building with 50 to 100 rooms, and there's 2 guys in each room, so you have a roommate, and so you get to see people from all different walks of life, and you see how everybody lives. And it was pretty interesting. I mean, it was all the single people. I didn't get as much of a up close look at the married guys, but for the single guys, they pretty much all live the same way except me. To my memory, which that was a long time ago, but they would go, they'd get their paycheck, and they'd go spend all of it on CDs. They'd load up their room with all the food. They'd buy snacks and junk food and microwave dinners, and they'd buy movies and a DVD player and a TV, and they'd buy all that stuff, and every paycheck, as soon as the money came in, they would literally spend every single thing they'd have. They were living paycheck to paycheck. So there was a lot of disposable income there because there were no expenses on bills, electric and food, but they were buying food even when they didn't have to because the money was there. It was there, and it was there to spend. And so it was kind of funny because my friends would actually feel sorry for me. I'm a 19-year-old kid, and some of them were older than me, but most of them were my age. But they felt sorry for me because I didn't go out and buy new clothes all the time. Or I didn't even, the Army issued me a wool blanket, and that's really scratchy on your skin. If any of you guys in the military remember the Army green wool blankets, it's really scratchy. Well, they issue that for your bedroom. Well, everybody else bought a sheets and comforter, but I just used the issue that they gave me, and people would see that. And so as time went by, people actually started to feel sorry for me because I didn't have a lot of stuff, but they didn't realize that I was executing a strategic plan. And so I ended up getting tons of free stuff. And it's not because I asked for it, because I really didn't have a need for it. I didn't want it. But people felt bad for me, and they'd give me stuff, and who am I to turn it down? They'd give it to me. So like I got a really nice comforter. My friend came over and said, hey, I just bought a new comforter, and so I'm giving this one to you, and I'd get clothing because guys would be like, man, I'm upgrading my wardrobe, and you don't have any clothes, so here, take all this. So I'd get clothes and shoes and, all kinds of stuff just from people that were usually upgrading, or they just felt sorry for me. So I actually ended up doing pretty well with the stuff, which I didn't need anyways, but it was kind of nice to get some of that stuff that people just gave me. And you'll find that even as a young family as well, I didn't buy a lot of things. But then there's other families that would need furniture or whatever, and they just pass it down because they were getting rid of it. So you don't always have to go out and spend your money and buy stuff. You can find stuff for free on Craigslist, on Facebook. You can get people in your community will just pass it down, thrift store. You don't have to spend a lot of money on these things and your budget items. So I got out of the military in 2000, and I had $25,000 saved up in 4 years. And so not bad. And, I was 22 years old, and so $25,000 is a lot of money. I wasn't making a lot, but able to save a good deal of money. And when I got out, things changed a little bit because expenses were still a lot higher. I had to pay rent, I had to pay for food, I had to pay for utilities, all of that things. But I still was able to be pretty effective with my savings because I got the lowest cost apartment I could find, and I was living in a one-bedroom apartment paying $300 a month in rent, and I didn't furnish it, right? And I didn't buy myself anything. I did buy myself a new vehicle, but I had $25,000, and my first job, I knew I wanted to start a business, but I didn't know what to do. My first job was carpet cleaning, and I did that for a couple months, and then the company I worked for was called Heaven's Best Carpet Cleaning. They had a franchise, and so I was called the franchise manager, and I said, hey, what's it take to get started in carpet cleaning? And so they told me a few things, and I said, okay, I'm going to start. So I went down to the headquarters and took the training. I paid the investment cost. It was a $20,000 franchise fee. I believe, I'm just going from memory, might have been a little more. Plus I had to buy my van to start. So I started my own business with carpet cleaning, and that was the start of my business career in the year 2000. And here we are, 2020, 20 years later. I'm still in business and loving every minute of it. And now 2020, I've crossed the $2 million a year in revenue. And while that's a great thing, it's been 20 years in business. And so I'm the kind of guy where I'm thinking, okay, 20 years, I'm at $2 million. I feel like that's a great accomplishment. Not a lot of people have done it, but at the same time, I'm kind of beating myself up because I feel like it's taken me 20 years to get to this point. Shouldn't I have been smarter? Shouldn't I have done it faster? Shouldn't I have come up with better ideas? You can always beat yourself up in hindsight. So despite that, I'm not going to beat myself up. I'm going to congratulate myself on what I've done. I'm not going to compare myself to the other people that have started businesses at the same time and done much better. You know, I look at Mark Zuckerberg. He started his business in 2004, and he's at 50 billion, right? So he's kicking my butt, right? But hey, what can I say? I did the best that I can, and I'm gonna keep moving. And 2 million, it's not where I wanted to be at this point. I really wanted to be at 10 or 20 million at this point or higher, but I am where I am, and I'm just going to do the best that I can. And I'm still going to continue to move forward for my goal of 20 million. So I did the carpet cleaning business, and I was very young and immature, did a lot of immature things, and ended up getting deployed back into the military, because after I got out, I was still in the reserves. I got deployed back into it, but because of my my lifestyle with drinking and just a lot of other immaturities, I ended up losing the business because I just couldn't handle it. So I got deployed to Iraq in 2004. The business collapsed, and I went to Iraq, which was an interesting experience for me. I was able to replenish my funds again, able to pay off the debts that I made out of the stupid living, because I made really good money in Iraq, no expenses, was able to pay everything off. It was a big lifestyle change for me as well, because that was the year that I totally changed my life and gave my life to the Lord. I gave my life to Jesus. It made a big difference in every area of my life and still does to this day. And so when I came back from Iraq, I was a new person, ready to go, but I was still excited about business. So I was doing a couple things on the side while I was in Iraq, because that's what I always do. I'm just the kind of person that is always trying to advance and move forward, and that was something that has been created inside of me, and I don't know why. It's just a gift that God's given me. It's in there. And so while I was in the Army in Iraq, I was doing other side businesses, trying to make some money and reading and studying and getting prepared. And so while I got back, when I got out, I did a soap making business where I made homemade soap in the basement on the side, made some decent revenues doing that. And then I started up carpet cleaning again. But this time, instead of going full speed, I did it on the side, was making some decent revenues there, and was continuing to do that until 2009. And I was working on the side, but I actually ended up losing my job because I was working in construction. And so then I tried out some more business ideas in 2009. And I started a website. It was called winnersedgetrading.com. It was a financial investing site about currency trading. I've always been interested in the market, so I just thought I'd write some ideas about trading. And I wrote my ideas down, and fortunately for me, the site got popular. I got picked up by a couple sites, and I ended up getting a lot of traffic, and that's where I started to learn about online marketing. So my current business now is called Online Marketing Services, and that's an online marketing company where I am kind of a publisher, where I publish content. I make money from that content. I also sell products. I sell traffic. I do a lot of different things in the online publishing in the financial space. And so 2009 was a great year. Made $45,000 from my website. Never thought that that would even be possible. That was my first year in business officially. I was still working on the side. I was loading trucks at FedEx, because when I lost my construction job, I got to work, started working at FedEx. I'd work at FedEx from 3:30 in the morning to 8:30 in the morning, a.m., and then I'd start working on my website after that. And so again, I had a lot of hustle and desire, and I think that's something that if this is the first time you're listening to the podcast, you got to have that drive, right? So if you're like me and you want to take your business to 20 million, then you got to have the drive. And I've had that drive since I was 20 years old, and it's not gone yet now that I'm 43. And I feel like I have a lot of energy, and I still really am seeking those goals. And so in 2009, I'm working, when you get up at 3:30 in the morning and you work to 8:30, then you work on your website, plus you got to take care of your family, your wife and kids. That's a lot of drive. That takes a lot of energy because I was exhausted. When you got the family, you just can't go to bed early. You got to make sure that they're taken care of. Having that desire is if you don't have it, you got to really figure out how to get it going. And whatever you can get it to motivate you, that's what you have to do. And for me, it's always been there, just the desire to do the best that I can do. And, now that I'm a Christian, to serve God, His kingdom, that's really important to me. And putting God first in everything is critical, as well as taking care of my family and doing exactly what I need to do. And so the motivation for me is there. Now the next part of the process is, since I have the motivation, it's going to be the discipline and the habits that I build. The most important thing, I think, now that I'm at the level that I'm at, to go from 2 to 20, from 2 million to 20 million, is my level of discipline and the habits in my life. And so this year, I've always been working on improving it, and I think that's never going to stop. But this year, I'm going to put a big focus on that. I think my habits are going to increase my productivity, my influence, and all of these things. And even doing this show is part of my discipline. I'm doing this show as a discipline to share my thoughts, to help others, to be able to take this on and still get everything done that I need to get done. And well, now that's a pretty good overview. I started in 2009. Now we'll go to 2019. 10 years later, I've had a lot of ups and downs and struggles and trials and challenges and successes and victories. It's been great. I absolutely love being in business. But 2019 was a pretty good year. I grew in some areas, shrunk in some others, didn't hit the goals that I wanted. But it was the year that I wrote my big vision for the 20 million. And I'm going to share upcoming in some of these episodes of how I wrote that vision, because I recommend everybody do the same thing, how I'm continuing to view it and exercise execution on it. It's going to be really important. 2020 has got to be a big year for me in order for me to accomplish my goal. I've got to see my team develop. I personally have to develop. I have to make a lot of changes. The key, I believe, to this growth that's got to come is I have to change. Just staying where I'm at and doing the same thing isn't going to work. And as a leader, I'm the leader of my company. Everything falls on on how I perform. And if I'm not willing to change, if I cannot do the work necessary to change, it's not going to grow. And I have to do it. And so this is another exercise for me in this podcast, is I'm going to share to the world what I'm doing and how I'm messing up, right? So you can, either that's boring to you or it's not. I'm going to be totally open and transparent. What I'm doing right and what I'm doing wrong, you're going to get it. And so maybe I'm a little bit ahead of you, and if that's the case, then that's a big help, hopefully. All right, well, that's it for the first episode. Stay tuned to next week, and I'm going to share the details of my current plan and vision for the next 3 years. All right. If you have any questions, please send me an email at caseystubbs@gmail.com. Thank you so much for listening.